So we kind of try to think about it like memory making, right? And then also making it for everybody. I don't care if people don't know what the score is at the end of the game, and a lot of people don't. Like they really don't, but I care that they had that experience, or they just thought like, hey, this is a place that I just want to hang out and I just want to sit on my lawn chair and watch this game and it's sunny outside. And we kind of want to be that, kind of that third place sort of idea, right? So that's what we strive for, and we try not to be too polarizing. Like, you can just come here and have a good time and drink a beer. You don't need to know the whole rule book or anything. It's not that intense. So
great businesses don't spring up out of nowhere. It takes grit, perseverance, personal growth, and failure to reach the status of an iconic local business. Welcome to Season 7 of the Building Bellingham podcast, where we're bringing you 8 more stories of local leaders and how they are building Bellingham. Welcome to the studio.
Yeah, thanks
Stephanie.
for having me.
Yeah. Well, we're right by the new roundabout. We were just talking about this, the smallest roundabout in Bellingham in Cornwall Park. But thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with us about Bellingham's sports team, which is the Bellingham Bells.
Yeah, happy to do it. Yeah.
So how did you get into the baseball world?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think people always think that it was probably a lot more of a strategic move, because I think a lot of people do work in sports and they know that's what they want to do, and they get sports management degrees and all those things. That wasn't my path. I went to Western. I met my husband. We decided we wanted to live in Bellingham, which feels like it's everybody's story.
Right.
I made a lot of people with that story. And so I was like 23 and I was broke, and I had, I was like, well, I better find a job. And so I got a job at the Bellingham Herald selling newspaper advertising.
Nice.
And
that sounds fun. It wasn't a grind at all,
it was actually kind of fun, yeah. I met a lot of, we were all young, and the industry was like rapidly changing, but, I didn't know any better. I was 23. So I got to work with small and medium-sized businesses all over Whatcom County, and that was a really cool experience for me. I was there almost 5 years. And during that time, the Bells got a new owner, and that owner came into town, and he wanted to rebrand. He wanted to do some different things. And so we were working with him at the Herald, and I got to know him, and they were kind of growing and starting to kind of figure some things out. And they were in a spot where they wanted to go from 1 employee to 2. And so they asked me to, be their second employee. It was kind of one of those things where every time I saw them, they asked me if I knew anybody. And then
but
the last
do you
time,
know someone named you?
I missed the hint. And so like the last time they were like, we actually meant you. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I went over there in 2013 and to do sales and marketing, and we experienced a lot of growth. I got promoted a few times. Team got sold in 2017 to a new owner, who's our owner now. And I've just been there ever since. And it changes and gets different every single year. And it's just really been a fun thing to be a part of. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Well, and you've the cool part about where you are in your journey right now is that you've started and you've kind of moved, you've experienced different positions, and that's one of the most powerful pieces for a leader in leadership, is knowing what everybody else is going through and dealing with. I want to cut quickly for those that don't know the history of the Bells. Used to be the Bellingham Mariners. Yep. Did I say that correctly?
In a way, yeah, I can kind of explain the evolution. Yeah.
Okay, I should probably let you do that since you're the expert.
I think it's a common misconception that, the Bells, the Mariners, the Giants, some of the different teams that have been at Joe Martin Field have been related. In reality, all that was really related is that they all played on the same field, right? So in the 70s and 80s, the Bellingham Mariners were the major tenant at Joe Martin. And then there was the Bellingham Giants and the Bellingham Dodgers. In 94, the Giants left Bellingham and went to Salem Kaiser. And at that time, when that happened, that was the end of pro ball in Bellingham. And that is when there was an owner that brought in the Bells as a summer collegiate team. But to even make it more confusing, the Bells have been in this community for about 100 years in a variety of, it's been community teams. It was a men's team. It was then a women's team when the men went to war. It has about 100 years of history. So people are always like, well, there was the Bells and then there was the Dodgers. So really it's a bunch of different teams. Bellingham has basically had a pro ball era and an amateur era, which is what we're in now. And then the Bells have really had about 100 years of history. There's a book I have on my desk that you can get at Village Books that has it all broken out by year, and you can look in the back, and if someone says...
Who wrote this?
Kent Holsather. And
maybe
it's called
a mega fan?
Bays. Yeah, I guess, historian.
Yeah, nice.
It's called Bays to Bells, and in the back, people will come in our office and say, "Oh, my grandpa was a Bell," and you could actually look in the back. There's an index. You can find the grandpa from 1933 or whatever. So that's a little bit how it worked. And so people will say, "Well, Ken Griffey was a Bell. He wasn't. He was a Bellingham Mariner.
He was
but
here.
he did play on the same field. Like, it's the same exact field. He was here in Bellingham
Right.
at Joe Martin. So that's kind of the
And he comes
distinction.
every like Thursday game.
Yeah, right. I wish.
Between like 5 and 7 o'clock.
One of these days we got to figure that out.
We got to get him and Omar and Raul and Edgar, right?
Edgar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legendary. Yeah. But this long history of the Bells being present, that's so interesting that it's been like different eras of this thing but it's baseball has been here for such a long time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, really long storied history of, I think, baseball in Bellingham. I think people think of Bellingham as a place with rich baseball history, right? And it's a lot, there's a lot to unpack there over the years of the different iterations. But I talk to people all the time about, people my age who remember like, oh, when I was 6, I went to a Bellingham Mariners game. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff. So that's neat.
And I played amateur level soccer, so I understand the benefit and the long-term launching of these young people. It feels weird for me to say that now, but these people that are like very talented, playing at a high level, and then they have the summer off essentially. Is that kind of the window of the season? It's like it's 57 games.
Yeah, we play 54 league games. It usually ends up being about 57, when you schedule a few extras. And yeah, I mean, the way that these colleges look at it is it's kind of their summer training program. And we can really only have them when they're out of school. So it's, June to August. But for a lot of these guys, it's a developmental league. We're developing them as people and as players. A lot of them, it's their first time away from home, first time living in a host family. I get calls from guys in airports because they've never been in an airport by themselves. I mean, it really is like a transformative, we've got high school seniors, we've got freshmen. But really, for a lot of our guys are, seasoned, they're big deal at their program. But other guys, they're just waiting their turn. So they might go through a college freshman season and get 5 or 6 at-bats, but they are going to be a big part of the program. So the program really needs them to kind of get out there and kind of play every day. So it's a minor league experience that our guys get. They play every day. It's wood bats, it's buses, where at college you're playing 3 games a week, you're flying everywhere. It's just a different experience. So if guys want to do pro ball, this is a lot closer to it. And, that's kind of what the experience looks like for them.
It's such an important gap, I guess, that it fills. The parallel would be, I played United, but also I would say more like PDL for soccer, which is it's unpaid, but it's a really high level. It's all those guys that are either young and trying to get to that gap, or they're just like, it's all about who sees you too.
Yeah.
And we'll jump into that as well, but it's sometimes you have an awesome player that didn't get the hype that they deserved, and sometimes you get a player that's maybe arguably not as good that gets more hype.
Yeah.
And so I'm so well aware of how that all works. How long do you typically have, does a player come, like let's say you have a recruiter or someone that finds these people, from that first point, how long are they usually with the program before they launch to the next level or move on to a career or whatever it is?
Yeah. So the nature of what we do, so that we work with the college coaches to really place players and decide who the best fit is. We have those relationships with the programs themselves, and then we use that to kind of build our team on an annual basis. I would say the whole roster pretty much rolls over every single year except for a handful of players. So you might have a guy who, is a freshman. He's going to come back after his sophomore year. You have to be a college student to be able to play in our league. You have to have at least 1 year of eligibility in front of you. So you kind of have to be somewhere in that 18 to 22 range, although that's gotten older with, COVID and everything else. But yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like. And we do have some returners, maybe guys who are local. Our third baseman last year was on his 3rd year with the team. He was from, BC, and it was, convenient and worked out. And
so baseball up there?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
They do play baseball up there.
I thought they just used the other type of sticks. Yeah.
Exactly. So typically you're pretty much getting, we joke that like Dinger is the only person that comes back every year,
it's
right?
It's the same person, right?
Sometimes, yeah. But the actual, mascot, the Dinger personality, like, that's the one constant, because the players really change a lot, and they can even change sometimes in the middle of the summer, because you might have somebody, they get hurt or they pitch too much and their college wants them to come back. So it's a very, fluid situation, and that's one thing that's hard for us with like marketing and community engagement. We have to do it differently than the Mariners, because if you're the Mariners, you just gave Cal Raleigh X amount of dollars, you locked him up for so many years.
He'll be behind the plate.
Yeah, and you lead with that, right? You go out, you market that, you do events. But if you're us, like nobody knows who our players are, and they don't come back every year, so we're not really like, hey, come watch so and so. It's got to be kind of a different feel to it.
It's got to be such a different level of management, even more difficult probably than a pro level of management, because you're seeking talent. Your goal is to help launch them to the next level. And so you're recognizing that there's no like contract. They're not here for 5 years guaranteed or whatever it is. And if you have a great player.
Yep.
So it's this mix of these two worlds.
Yeah.
It's almost more difficult than pro.
It is. It's really challenging. I think that's kind of for us where our mission really comes into play. I mean, we are really, our pillars are kind of like community development excellence, and the development piece is really big for us. And so we try to keep top of mind, like they are here to get better. They're not here to win us a championship. I want to win a championship. I want to do that every year, but you can develop and win, and they're here to get better, and they're here to become better people, better community members, and they're here to, have this be a part in their journey where we do have guys playing the MLB. It's really cool when I turn on my TV and I see a guy who's been in Bellingham.
What's up, man?
It's awesome, but not everybody does, that doesn't happen for everybody, but we want to be a positive stop on their experience. And so I think when you think about how to manage it, we just try to keep the mission really central. Like this is about them and their experience and their development. So how do we craft the whole thing so that it's, best serves them, priority number one.
Yeah. That must be really cool.
Yeah.
But it also must be really cool to see them go into the community and start their lives.
Mm-hmm.
They've been through this basically up until 22 years old. You're kind of in this like incubating, like I'm going to figure out what I want to do. And probably for a lot of those guys that come through, they're like, baseball is my life. This is all I'm going to do.
Yep.
And I had that same kind of moment in my life where I was like, I'm going pro. It's going to happen. I'm playing college ball. It's all set. I don't need to think about anything else. And here I am not in playing soccer anymore. So that's really cool to see that like, whereas like AA, AAA, single A, they're like, it's to get you to the next A and then to the, MLB. Whereas you guys are like, that could be an option, but we want to like help you build you up to get out into the world.
Right. It's a real thing, right? And if you do this long enough, you realize that I think we all know, and I'm sure you played with some people too that do get a chance to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And even when you get a chance to play college athletics, you've made it further than a lot of people do, right? And so once you get to like the pro level, it's so hard to do. And we've had guys who have done it, but at the end of the day, you've got to also be thinking about what else, like what else might be on the radar. And so, one really cool thing, I just hired an employee a month ago who was a 3-year former Bell. And now he works in our office.
Come on back in. Stay here.
He's like, man, I didn't know that any of this stuff happened. It's a different side. But it's really cool to like, he speaks so positively about his Bells experience and how it set him up for life. And, for him to want to come work in our office now, like that's just a really cool full circle. And that's really our goal. We're really proud of the guys in the MLB, and that's really cool. But not everybody gets to do that. And you've got to be set up for life, one way or another.
Yep. It's got to launch. And sports do have a huge impact on. It's not to say there aren't other experiences that don't, but I've attributed a lot of like mindset things to experiences through sports, and it's really important, I think, to have that kind of those building blocks.
Very important. Yeah.
You mentioned something about local, and I'm going to describe a quick experience, and then you're going to probably say, "Yep, that was a plan." But like when I'm there, all the beers that are on tap, local, ciders, beers. You've got this big emphasis about local community sponsors, local community focus, local community, and that can't, most of the time, just economically, that's not cheaper than going, I'm going to get a bunch of Coors Lights and on tap, and I'm going to have hot dogs shipped in from Idaho or whatever it is. But I think I always have so much admiration when a company goes, no, or an organization goes, we're just going to lean into this because this is just our community gives to us, we're going to give back. Tell me more about like the plan of that experience, that local experience.
Yeah, when I started in 2013, and the Bells were much different then, attendance was much lower. It was a much smaller operation then. But the owner at the time was not local. He was from Bellevue. And he had some family here, but he didn't really know the area. And I think it really had been preached to him from people like, well, this is a place where like, if you don't buy local, if you don't represent that at your ballpark, like the locals are not going to respect you. And so I remember him telling me that when I started, and they had really leaned in on that, like trying to source, Hemplers and Ralph's Pretzels and all of these things. And so we've always kind of just stayed with that. And I think it's been a two-way street. All of those folks that, an Avenue bread, hot dog bun is not the most economical option on the market.
But when you bite into that thing, a Hempler's dog on a
the Hempler's
Avenue
dog
bun.
So I think it's been a two-way street because I think we're really proud to do that. I think there's a lot of pieces to what we do, but one of them is the economic activity and being able to support the community in a variety of ways. And I think it's important we do that when we can. But I will say all those people have supported us as well. And in the early years, they were, when we were small, they were doing all sorts of things, coming down and fixing things and showing us how to do things. And they've supported us financially through sponsorship. So it really is a true partnership. And I believe if you're going to have your product in the ballpark, like we really need to be partners. Like you need to be partnered in my success and I need to be partnered in your success and making sure that we put, the best foot forward. So that has been, part of kind of the plan and it's really cool. I mean, this year we even kind of doubling down a little bit. We're getting new beer and it's all going to be local. And
Nice.
so it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
And you also do really enjoyable events. Like I have this very sunny memory burned in my head of my daughter when she was just able to run, but she's just kind of like chunking along, and you guys do the base run.
Yeah.
Things like that where the kids getting out in the field or meet the players or these types of things, they're such an important part of life. And I just remember running from one side, she's laughing the whole time, she's yelling dinger, and then I ended right over where the beer garden, where the stand is off to the side, and I was like, that was awesome. She's giggling and laughing. It's sunny out, and I just ended at a place I can get a beer.
Exactly.
That was a good experience.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So tell me more about the creative side of how you get people to get on the field or meet players or fun things that you guys are doing. I'm always amazed at the level of creativity of these games or events or
I think one of our mentalities, so we are what the league would consider like a small market team. We're not a really small market like some of the markets, but we're also not Portland. We're not Edmonton. We're not a huge market where you're driving from 1 million people. So if you're driving from 1 million people and you just need, 3,000 a night, you can really lean into hey, this is baseball. But if you're us and you're trying to get 3,000 a night in, a city population of 100, the non-baseball fans have to be able to find some enjoyment. And so when I first started, people, I'd call people like, hey, do you want to bring your company out to the ballpark? Nah, we don't like baseball. Nobody here likes baseball. And
Boo.
We don't. Yeah, exactly. But some people really don't, though, or they think they don't because they've watched it on TV and it takes forever or whatever, or they're not sports people, whatever that is. But I think one of the things we really try to think when we do marketing and fan engagement is don't lean into the baseball. The baseball's there, and if people want to do that, great. But what are all the other things that we can do to make these kind of memories at the ballpark, these kind of lifetime memories you can make at the ballpark, with your kids, with, grandparents and children, or just, all the different things that we do, different events, or getting to throw a first pitch, or getting to be with the team. So we kind of try to think about it like memory making, right? Mm-hmm. And then also making it for everybody. I don't care if people don't know what the score is at the end of the game, and a lot of people don't. They really don't, but I care that they had that experience, or they just thought hey, this is a place that I just want to hang out and I just want to sit on my lawn chair and watch this game and it's sunny outside. And we kind of want to be that, kind of that third place sort of idea, right? So that's what we strive for. And we try not to be too polarizing. You can just come here and have a good time and drink a beer. You don't need to know the whole rule book or anything. It's not that intense. So that's what we try to do. I think
that's such a great approach, because I even feel that going to a Mariners game where my wife, she likes baseball, but I grew up playing baseball.
Right.
I grew up going to all the Mariners games. They broke my heart in 2001. I stopped watching baseball until this last season. It was a really rough time, and then Sonics went away.
Oh, geez, yeah.
It's been a rough ride for Northwest sports fans.
Yep.
I don't want to gush about that. But one thing I love about the ball game, the experience of the ball game, is that you can be the super data nerd tracking all the stats and trading baseball cards in the stands and all these things, or you can just go. And you don't have to watch the game the whole time. You can go do these things. It's just the experience of the ballpark that's electric.
Yeah, I think one of the big parts for us, atmosphere-wise, is the grassy knoll that we have, right?
Love the grassy knoll.
The funny thing about the grassy knoll is sometimes I'll go out there and I'll sit with people. You cannot tell what's going on. That is not where I would ever watch a baseball game if I wanted to know what was going on, right?
Everyone yells, foul ball!
Yeah. It's hard to tell what's going on in the game. It's hard to hear. It's hard to see the scoreboard. But there's people out there, just having a great time, catching up with their neighbors, having company events, letting their kids run around. And it's great. It's great that you can do both. It's really great.
Hey everyone, it's Taylor, producer of the Building Bellingham podcast. Not only do we create a community podcast, but since 2021, we've produced our team's other community platform, Live Bellingham Now, where we highlight new local businesses, try out iconic favorites, and keep you in the know about all things happening in the city of subdued excitement. Check us out on Instagram or Facebook at Live Bellingham Now, and be sure to subscribe to our monthly newsletter.
You said something on that note about focusing on the experience and like opening it up to like, this is an experience. You don't have to even care about baseball necessarily. But Bellingham has always been, I think it's popular opinion about Bellingham that it is a arts community.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful arts community. And you don't have to be into art to enjoy the art that's in Bellingham. But there's a lot of sports fans in Bellingham. So it's been this like emphasis on arts and not a huge emphasis on sports outside of like Bells. And then you've got Bellingham United.
Yep.
You know, but you guys are the front runner in that, which is so cool. Like for the sports side of fans that come to the games, like what is the Bellingham Bells sports fan like?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have people who I always say like know more of what's going on than I do. Like sometimes I hear things from fans who are like, "Oh yeah, I heard so and so had like a bruised ankle or whatever." I'm like, "No, you know more than I do." Like it's like we have some people who are really sports fans, and there's always those people. I mean, my husband and I are those people. We take sports vacations, right? There's people like that. There's people that, are really excited, and we definitely have that crowd. Yeah, and I think we put a good product on the field for, those sort of folks. And so it's always a balance of like, we got to be competitive. We got to put a good product on the field. If you go to enough games like in the West Coast League, you will see like Portland's a great example. They do a lot of, they always say keep Portland weird or whatever is the thing. Portland's a game day experience, very weird. I was there one time. They did a 9-minute dog parade. There was a dog parade. There was like 250 dogs that walked across the field in the middle of the game, and they stopped the game for 9 minutes to like parade the dogs.
It's like borderline Savannah Bananas little bit.
It was awesome and hilarious.
Like they're in between those two leagues.
Right, but how do your sports fans feel about that, right? So I always say you got to respect the baseball first. Like, we got to respect the baseball. We're not going to dilute it. We're not going to make it the sideshow. Like, it is the main event. I'm not going to do anything that takes away from the baseball. But we also have to amplify it and make sure that other people can come and have a good time. So it's a little bit of a dance. I think we do a good job. We do a lot of calculated behind-the-scenes things, like you've probably seen us do the on-field promotions. We never do those while the other team is warming up. So we're only on the field when our own pitcher is warming up because, they know what we're going to do. And they're, so we try not to do things that are like gamesmanship or anything that's going to take too long. We practice them. We know how long they're going to take because we really do want the baseball to be, the main event. Yeah.
So let's talk some economics. I'm always very interested in, this is totally a wild ass theory, but teams play at home and away.
Yep.
And there's a certain level of attendance that you guys are like, oh, this is a good night.
Yep.
And it sounds like it's really more about sustainability than it is about like being a profit monster. Obviously, the more you bring in, the more you're able to invest back in the organization. Tell me about the economics of like home games versus away games. And I mean, you're not playing 162 games a year,
right?
Like the MLB.
Yeah.
What is the like if you guys have this amount of in the attendance, you guys are high-fiving and saying, awesome job.
That's a really good question. So this has gotten to be a pretty expensive business to run because it's very staff heavy. And when we travel, there's a lot of costs.
Yeah.
And so I would say, you have multiple revenue streams too. So for us, we have the game day revenue. So the revenue that happens, which is tickets and merchandise and, hot dogs, which we go into every season. And, some of it we've spent already. And now we just need to make sure that people buy as many hot dogs as we've projected, So there's that. Sponsorship's a big piece. So we have local sponsors, people who bring their companies for group events, all of that stuff. And we've started, we have some side things now. We're running youth baseball and doing some other things. So we're, the first thing is like, you just got to try to kind of get as much revenue as you can because the costs are high. It's staff intensive. So that's kind of part of it. And it's not a profit monster. It really is something that where it's a hard business. It's not a super high margin business, but you are trying to invest back into it, make it better. That's kind of our goal every year is like, how do we increase the budget a little bit so we could make the experience better? So if you come in, you really notice it like, oh, they did this or, oh, they did that. So, so that's kind of like the high level. To your question about like, I'll give you a perfect example, just like home versus road. So obviously home games, you're paying for the visiting team to stay in a hotel and you're paying your staff, but otherwise, you're taking the gate, you're selling hot dogs. When you go on the road, the home team is paying for you to stay in a hotel, but other than that, you're just burning money, right?
Right.
You're like, the bus is expensive, and you're feeding the guys, you're giving them cash.
You're feeding a bunch of college
yeah,
kids.
you're giving them
So
cash.
add
You're
up 20% on
right.
top of that for
You're
extra
doing
grub
things,
and
all that stuff. So perfect example is the West Coast League playoffs is a little bit of a crapshoot as far as who gets home field, and it's all based on your record, and you don't know who's gonna get through and all that. So we had the first series, we had home field advantage, so we had Wenatchee come, we got 2 home games, and then from there we had the lower records, so we had to go on the road for the rest of the playoffs. So we got 2 home games, and then we had to go to Edmonton. We had to fly there on a private jet, and because there was no way to get there commercially, and Edmonton did pick up, that cost. But we had to go there, we had to get hotels, we had to do all this stuff, and then within 24 hours of winning that game, we had to get on a bus and drive to Portland. And so when it was when it was all said and done, we actually had more expenses in our playoff run than we did revenue. And so that's a pretty perfect example of, in a perfect world, you just play all the games at home and people come to you. But the competition and just the reality of the player experience, it's great to have the league, set up the way that it is. But it's gotten increasingly expensive to do things like hotels. You're not just getting 2 hotel rooms, you're getting 15 hotel rooms,
Right.
buses, that's got, so, and feeding the guys itself is a major cost. So yeah, I think people always think they count how many people are at the games, and we average 2,500, which I'm really thankful for.
Yeah.
We're towards the top of our league.
That's more than, it's not a huge stadium, but
Right.
it's always hard to visualize
Yeah.
how many people
It's
are.
about 75% capacity on an average. And then, but I think people will sometimes look around, they'll kind of count. They'll be like, oh, they're raking in the money. But, things really add up, when you start talking about staffing and the local products that we're using and everything
And
else.
holding on to and projecting inventory for, like you were alluding to with the hot dogs as
Yeah.
an example, like those are front loaded projections on how long they last and how many people there might come. And you just never know. We throw events, and events are like, they're either our expectations are down here and we're like, what the hell is going on? This is amazing. Or we're like, it's going to be great. And then there's like, people are like, we're just going to do something else.
Right. And, you can project something, and then you can have 2 rainy days or something, it just kind of depends. And so I would say kind of one of like the hardest things about this job is a lot of it is really weather dependent, right? In the summer, and just other things, like sometimes it'll be better and sometimes it'll be worse than you think. Just like there might be smoke, like it's smoky in in August, or something else is going on in town, or it's cold or whatever. And like I think one of the hard things for me is you kind of have to be like, I'm running a business, I'm also running a baseball team, and then I'm also running a business and having to kind of like be a GM of a restaurant and be the GM of a merchandise place, and also be a GM of like an event venue. And so, I'm not an expert in all those things. So it's kind of every year you kind of learn, a little bit about how to kind of predict and how to, run the best show, and how to make sure that ultimately for us to be here and to be in the community, it's got to be financially viable. So we got to make sure that we're, doing our job on that part too.
I think this is my next question is a really good point, that like, if you compare professional baseball to the Bells or the league, amateur league, development league, that money is going towards the players' development, the experience of it's an event, and it's experience for the people that are coming there. But like all of this money just gets invested back into like the travel and all these things. It's not like the Mariners, and not to knock the Mariners, love them, but that's a for-profit business. Not that you're nonprofit,
Right.
but it's like
but
this.
It's
That's not going. I guess it's going to Cal Raleigh
it's going to players
and the dumper,
Yep.
But I think that makes it so much more exciting to go spend money at the game.
Yeah.
And also one thing that's really cool is that the tickets are really affordable. How have you been able to, I'm assuming sponsorships, but how have you been able to keep that super accessible to Bellinghamsters.
Yeah, it's really been a priority. I mean, we really want to keep it affordable. I mean, we'll hear from people who say, "Oh, it's not as affordable as it used to be." I'm like, "Well, nothing, nothing really is." And when you look at our ticket prices, when you look at what our beer costs, what our food costs, nothing is inexpensive anymore. We're living in kind of an expensive time. But if you also look at the Mariners. We serve beer for about the same price that the breweries do. So most stadium environments are getting gouged, but we try not.
I just learned the economics from Jake that owns Beach Cat.
Oh, yeah.
He said, if I sell my beer at the game, I sell it pennies on the dollar to them, and then they sell a tall boy for $18.
Yep.
And you get to pay it.
Totally.
That's insanity.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we try really not to do that, and so it's always been just a priority is to keep it as affordable as we can while still being able to be financially viable. But
Right.
Tickets, especially, a lot of it, I look at sponsorship as, sponsorship really helps us do that. It really subsidizes the ticket price. So we've always looked at it that way. We say, okay, this is what we need in sponsorship so that we can keep tickets. And I think that's really important. I don't think we would be who we were if all of a sudden it was $40 for a ticket. There are places in our league that do $40 tickets. I don't think that's who we are.
It's Portland.
Yeah, it is.
It's you, Portland. We
It's
know
Portland
it's you.
and Edmonton. But those are big markets too.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really been important to us. And there's a variety of ways too that, we give tickets to sponsors. We do, wear your Little League jersey, you get a free ticket, or you're a teacher, you get a free ticket tonight. So we try to give people options because we want it to be affordable and accessible. I mean, again, it's the community's team. And I really don't think in Whatcom County, the long play is to make tickets $40. And, it just wouldn't become part of
Just
people's
could squeeze
summer,
a little bit more
right?
out of Bellingham.
No. Yeah. So we, over the past 5 years, we have had to increase prices, and it's tough because people, they're like, oh, it used to be $5. And I'm like, well, a lot of things gas used to be $1 a gallon when I got my driver's license.
A pitcher at the Up used to be $3.
Oh man, those were the days.
Oh, Beernomics. Oh, that's the one that I can't get over right now is I just remember, and we were so broke that we were like, we're splitting this 3 ways.
Oh yeah.
Buck
the legendary.
each. Legendary.
That was
legendary
legendary
pitcher.
times. But yeah, so I think it's really about just what can we do to keep that, especially the entry, the ticket price, to keep it low, to keep it affordable. And we do it with that in mind. And I would say every year, we go out and we say, well, what are the comparable things that people can do in Bellingham that cost money? Because we're not going to be able to go up against things that are free. We're not a free event. There's free festivals, there's things like that. But what does it cost to go to the movies? What does it cost to go to the racetrack? What does it cost? And we kind of pull that out and we make sure that we're, either right in the middle or lower on the list because we want to be affordable. We don't want to be on the top or way above, what an average family activity is.
Or you don't have SeatGeek scouring to make sure that they, whatever the highest profitable number. Yeah.
Building Bellingham is a community production of the Bellingham Real Estate Company. We are an independent real estate firm located on Meridian Street. From our data-centric approach to a heavy investment in media and collaboration, we do real estate differently in Whatcom County. Check out Beham REco reviews on Google, Zillow, and ratemyagent.com, and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions.
Bellingham, the Bells, local. I want to talk a little bit more about the sponsorships. I've know a lot of the different companies. I know some of the owners, all, wonderful companies. And it sounds like a lot of them have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
People that just believe in the, the long-term vision of it. How have those relationships been for you?
Yeah, it's funny because so when I first started, we had, maybe 10 or 20 sponsors. And when you look at the list, you'd be like, oh, that's the owner's barber. That's the owner's banker. That's the owner's mortgage guy. It was all just calling in personal favors, it's we get a little sponsorship from the hotel, just people who were working with us and kind of believed in it. And then, we've built it up over time. And I think people who believed in it, one example is Bellingham Cold Storage, which just sold last year. But, Doug Thomas always did a outfield sign. I mean, they're not a customer facing business. You can't go and just buy fish from them or anything.
Yeah.
They're a big company and all their stuff is kind of behind the scenes, business to business. But he always just said, I believe in this. I want this in the community. So we will always be good for this amount. Put a sign on the wall. Yeah. And so it was almost kind of like running like a nonprofit in the early days, okay, yeah, well, and it's really evolved now to, we have about 100,000 people come in every year in that 8 to 10 week period. So now it is like a legitimate marketing thing. So I think a lot of people feel like, okay, I'm a big brand in Bellingham and there's a lot of people there and I need to be represented. Or, maybe 10 years ago, it was like people were like, okay, we'll give you, $1,000 because we feel bad and we just want you guys to make it. So it's become a different thing. But we've had so many people from the get-go, 10 years ago who have just been really generous and believed in what we were trying to do and have, been sponsored. And then people have kind of come on over the years. We're really fortunate. We don't take it lightly. We have to deliver on our promises. And we have to too. I mean, I do say like we're this community's team, but we have to be something that our sponsors are proud of. Like they're investing in us and they're putting their brand on our wall. They're putting our products in our concession stand. So we have to make sure that the experience is reflective of, how they would want to run their businesses and something that they really want to align with. I think when we really started delivering on that is when we really kind of started hitting on all cylinders, is being able to get bigger brands, because, you do go to some, you go to different things and you see a sponsor sign up and then you're like, it looks weird. It's like the color is weird. This event is kind of a mess. And then you've got like a brand represented. I think we kind of just, I think that was a kind of an unlock for us, is when we, we're representing our sponsors and the atmosphere and everything about it has to be something that they want to be at. And when we started hearing from sponsors, like, I come to Bells games all the time, in the old days, somebody would sponsor the team, but they never come to a game, And so I think it's a big visibility difference now. Yeah.
One thing you skated over, we talked a lot about the development of players. You're like, obviously I want to win. You guys do win a lot, though.
Yeah, right.
So we kind of skated over that. Let's go back to this.
Sure.
There's a little bit of a record here.
Yeah.
You guys have had a good run.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that level of exposure. So there's like being in the league, getting to play, getting exposed to coaches or recruiters or whatever it is, or developing players. And then there's also like kind of crushing it.
Yeah, so we've been really competitive pretty much the entire time that I've been here. We've missed the playoffs just a handful of times.
Did you beat Portland?
We did in
nice.
2025.
And Edmonton?
Yes, we beat them both. Yeah, we won it all last year,
Big
actually.
dogs.
So we're coming off the title, so that's pretty exciting. But I think in the last, we haven't missed the playoffs for the last 5-6 years. And then, before that is just sparingly. So one of the things, like one of our philosophies is, and I think this is how it works in the West Coast League. These are college students. They go back to their programs. Their programs want them to have a good experience. So I think we have a reputation now for how we take care of players, so we get better players. And they stay longer, and they want to be here. And then they go back and they tell their friends. And then they want to, oh, yeah, I'm going to tell Coach I want to go there, right? And so I just went down in November to California with our coach. We went to a bunch of schools, saw a bunch of former Bells, and, they were telling me like, oh, yeah, I talked to so-and-so, and he's going to be a really high draft pick, but he said, yeah, he wants to be a Bell. And so, it's just that whole thing builds.
That's really
so
cool.
I think that's part of it. The other part of it is we have really, I think, we try to invest in the player experience, try to really make sure that it's good and it's something they want to be a part of. Good host families, good everything. Because this is their summer vacation, so we want it to be a positive experience. We want it to be something that's helpful for them. And then the other thing is, like, we've invested in coaching, and we make sure that, when you look, we just hired a head coach. And when you look at the level of experience of coaches that we've had, I mean, we're getting really good coaches. So
isn't that
that's part of it
interesting
too.
that like it's like a snowball effect? Because I've been on teams where we weren't good and then we got better. We worked hard. We maybe got a couple extra players that added in those extra pieces to the puzzle, and then we won something, and then a few more people trickled in, and next thing you know, it was like, oh, then we started establishing like a consistency thing. And it's so interesting that this like, it's kind of this like network of word of mouth, and all it takes is like a good player experience. That's probably number one. And then, as an athlete, you're like, I want to win. I want to win, even if it's not like, if it's just a thing I'm doing here for a year or 2 or 3, like, I want to win. Why not?
Yeah, there's this interesting thing in summer ball where the athletes come in and they kind of have this mentality. I mean, it's kind of known like, well, it's summer ball. Yeah. It's just summer ball. And we have never subscribed for that. I say on the first day, I go in there and I talk to them and I'm like, this is not just summer ball to us. It is not just summer ball to our community. So if this is how you feel, then you should just go home because we're going to try to win. And what's funny is they'll say, oh, it's just summer ball. But in reality, everybody wants to be a winner. Yeah. Everybody wants to be on a winning team. And so I think our guys really subscribe to that. And I think another thing that we believe is like, you have to learn how to win. Like, I think that's a really important thing as an athlete and as a person. Like, sometimes you might just get out there and it might not be your day or whatever, but you still got to figure out like you're not always going to win, but you got to try. And how are you going to, figure out how to win? So that's been part of our mentality. And yeah, I mean, people want to have a good experience. They want to get, taken care of, and they want to win. And, last year we won the title, we won the whole thing. And so that, definitely a lot of people calling us up this year too. So,
hey, hello. And then the sponsors. And then it's just,
it's
such
awesome.
an interesting, how much time, effort, and a lot of it's built on failures and challenges. I mean, that's so much of those moments, and that mentality of learning how to become a winner comes from losing. And actually, that was one of my coaches in high school said that to me. He's like, you guys are used to winning, and I'm actually happy we lost today.
Yep.
You guys laid it all out there today. We didn't pull it together. You weren't as sharp as you normally are. It just is what it is. And also, like, this is good for us.
Yep.
Because you go back to the Mariners in 2001, 116 wins, and broke everyone's heart with the playoff loss to, of course, the Yankees. Yay, we love them.
Yeah.
But I love that you guys are focusing so much on that mentality of, because it's easy to just fall into the, hey, this is something I'm doing in between this season and next season for college ball. So next season, it's let's talk about this. Well, we're almost into the season, right?
Yeah, we're about 3 months away. Yep.
So coming off of a title, there's this like looming, are we going to do it again? Yeah. Or do we have a big target on our back? Or like, what is the mindset of like the coaching staff coming off of a title going into another season?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think, we have a new head coach, so he wasn't part of winning it. I don't know if he feels like he has a big target on his back. I know people have said that a lot and brought it up. I mean, for me, I felt like there was a target on our back because we'd been so competitive for so long and we hadn't won one in 10 years. And every year we got really close. And so I almost felt like relieved when we won one. I was like, all right, we got one now.
Fine, let's move on.
Yeah. And I don't feel major pressure to like repeat. I think we're going to do what we always do. We're going to be competitive. We know what it's like now. We've won one in the last decade now. So it's like we're good to go. But yeah, I think it's just a lot of excitement. I think you do always run the risk of, we didn't win that title at home. So a lot of our fans, they know about it, but they didn't see it or, but they're like, oh, you guys are the champions. And I do think sometimes you run the risk with fan bases, you win one or you win two. Then they kind of think, oh, this is just it now. Like we just win championships.
Got to keep us on the edge of our seats.
But it is really hard. It is really hard to do. It's been an interesting experience because from a business perspective, I mean, it has unlocked and done things for us that you just really can't do without. I mean, we put up for sale a championship T-shirt. We sold like 500 of them.
Are there any left?
I don't think so. Everybody wanted one, but it's just stuff like that. So I don't think we feel a lot of pressure. I think we've always felt, it just all comes back into the same thing. We always want to just put the best product on the field for Bellingham, and we want to be competitive, and we want to win it every year. But we also are realistic to know that, especially in our format with a one-game playoff, it's really hard, and you're not going to hit it every year, but we want to be competitive, and so we're going in with that mindset. Yeah.
That's the best possible mindset you can go into it with. No pressure to do it again, but the pressure just pressure on yourselves to do the same thing you did last time and just give it your best. And I want to cut all the way back to you moved here. And this is a while ago. What drew you to Bellingham, and what's kept you in Bellingham?
Yeah, I was really young when I decided to move here. I went to Western. I was like 18. I grew up in Eastern Washington. So to be honest, we came over here and it was like sunny and there was green trees everywhere. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to move here. And so, I'm not sure that it was a super calculated decision. What's kept me here has been a couple things. I love, like, even now, I mean, people will say Bellingham's changed a lot, but it still feels like a small town with big town amenities, right? I mean, there's still not a lot of traffic. There's more than there used to be, but it's not like you're spending hours in traffic trying to get everywhere. There's a very, you run into people at the grocery store. It's a very tight-knit community, but there's also, it's also not rural. Like, you can go up to Vancouver, you can go up to Seattle. So I've always loved that. And I think Bellingham's just a really, it's, I've only ever lived 2 places, but it is a very, like, tight-knit, neat community, and it really just feels like there is a sense of community here. And I've really felt that with the Bells. People have really got behind it, and especially in the early, like now they're behind it because it's cool, and it's, there's 3,000 people there on a Tuesday, and it's a fun thing. But, even like 2014, we'd have 300 fans on a Tuesday night. There were people that would just be like, you know what, let me do this for you just to help out. And we had people give so much of their time and resources just because they wanted to help see us succeed. And I know that happens everywhere, but it feels like in Bellingham, there's a real spirit of that, and it really is something I see, throughout our community. So that's probably my favorite part.
Leading with value before. I mean, there's this principle of the 5 laws of stratospheric success, and one of them is giving more in value than you take in payment.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just going to do this because this is the right thing, and I want to see this work.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with you. And the way you just explained it with Bellingham being a small town with big town amenities.
Yeah.
That's why I've been trying to put my finger on it. And it's like, we have like some of these things, but then it's also like infrastructure's constrained a little bit, but it's also like, it's got this big, you can not bump into someone, but most likely you're going to go to Barclay Hagen or something, and you're going to be like, hey, hi, kind of thing.
Yep.
Love that about it. What are some of the things that you're most excited about with the future of the organization and some cool, fun stuff that you have coming up?
Yeah.
Besides the season in 3 months?
Yeah, I'm really excited about just like the sustainability of the Bells. I think we got to the point where, we do have a good brand following. Obviously, we still have to keep putting in the work, but it's a lot less work than it used to be. It's still plenty of work, but, I have a great team. There's several of us now. In the old days, it was, just me and a couple people and
a handful of hats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have good systems. We're like a real business now. Like we have business systems, and so I think just the sustainability is really, just continues to get better, where it's like we kind of say sometimes like the Bells part of this whole deal is kind of a machine. Like it just kind of does what it needs to do, and we know what it needs to do, and we feed it, and it kind of spits out good baseball in the summer sort of thing.
This thing is a little bit,
it's
more like this,
right? It's a lot
coasty.
more, and so we've kind of moved on from our kind of startup sort of days, right? But I'm really excited about, we got into youth baseball last year. We started the Junior Bells, and I think for us, that was really something people had been wanting for us to get into youth baseball. It wasn't really something we were wanting to do, but we'd heard enough of it. There was enough of a need that we said we would try it. And in our inaugural season last spring, we had 175 kids.
Wow.
So we're like, okay, try it. Did it in the fall. We're doing it again this spring. We have we're going to have 400 kids.
Wow.
And so for us, I just feel so good about like that's the next generation of baseball athletes. Those kids are going to be, maybe they're not all going to play in high school or college, but I really believe, like you do, that athletics are good and you can learn things out there. And it's, we're scholarshiping a lot of kids. They don't have the resources to be able to do it. We're really trying to make it for everybody. It's the kind of thing that, everybody can kind of jump in and do. And so I'm really excited about the impact that that's going to have. We have a 3 and 4-year-old division, and
that is adorable.
There are going to be 100 athletes in that division. So if you think about like what does that look like in 10 years, it's just really cool.
It's not T-ball though.
No, it's coach pitch.
Oh my gosh.
We have a whole thing that we've built out. We're working with a partner based by pros, and so I'm really excited about that program. It's just so cool, and I think that we actually started a 501c3 to support that work in some ways, and some of the other baseball and softball organizations in town. But just what that piece is going to be able to do is, and then, seeing the attachment that those kids have had with, they play their games at Joe Martin. So it's just really cool. And that's been neat. I'm really excited about that and about how the Bells, how we've evolved to the point where we can run a season and still do these other things too that are really making a very positive impact, in our community. So I guess that's the short answer is I'm excited that the next era of the Bells, I think we're going to really be able to positively impact the community in bigger ways because of that stability on the Bells side. Yeah.
Knowing that it's coach pitch too.
Yeah.
I would be, because I watched a bunch of baseball games this year with my 3-year-old, and she's like, what's this? What's that? And they're all things, they don't have anything to do with the game. But it's all like, why is that guy wearing a funny hat? And I'm like, I don't know. He's just in the stands. I can't explain it. But
yeah,
I'm not coming for dinger spot. But I do want to know if I wanted to audition to be dinger or just be backup dinger when main dinger needs just a breather, or he's just like, I can't sweat in the suit in July. How do I audition to be dinger?
So funny. So we've had the same dinger for a couple of years, and then we do get emails. So you can email Haley, and people do, and then they're like, "Hey, I'd really love to get in the suit." We had a guy last year who had been Bugs Bunny at a Six Flags, and he had moved into town. And he was like,
I can't compete with someone that has actual mascot experience, but like, And does Dinger get a talk? And
No,
be like,
no.
woohoo, or something?
No talking.
No talking. Okay. I could be an excited, animated Dinger, but
Yeah.
But Dinger was awesome. It's again, Dinger, if you're out there listening to this, I'm not coming for your spot. You're wonderful. You're a wonderful Dinger. My daughter loves you and really enjoyed interacting with you. But I am just curious,
So funny.
part-time,
Part-time. We'll keep you in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in and
thank you.
sharing everything about the Bells, what you do. We're super excited to come to the games. We're excited I think we had talked a little bit about events and sponsorships and some stuff we'd love to do. And we have the same first word in our names too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great to talk to you.
Go follow on Instagram. You have Facebook.
Yeah, we've got all the social stuff. BellinghamBells.com is, tickets and all the info and schedules. And then Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the things.
Oh, you're on TikTok.
I think. I mean, that's not my department, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I cut it off at Snapchat and TikTok. I was like, that's not for me.
Yeah.
But we'll be at the games. If you are looking for something to do this summer, the schedule will be online. We'll probably post Bell's schedules on Live Bellingham Now,
Awesome.
which is our community platform. We'll be there. So I'm stoked to see you there and also just support you guys and get more people out there. Let's do
Awesome.
it.
Thank you.
Go to the
Bells.
games. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks.
Building Bellingham is a community podcast produced by the Bellingham Real Estate Company. Our producer and audio editor is Taylor Beal, and videography is by Cooper Hansley.